thing working yet? There we go. So it seems to be working. I've noticed a lot of negativity lately, and I'd like to go into a little bit of detail about the nature of how this is a battle of morale. In the media, we're constantly demoralized. We're told that, and we're shown that we're evil, we have no way of fighting back, and that we're just de facto going to be defeated. We're told this is inevitable, there won't be any white people, just accept it, etc., etc. And at the same time, we're shown in the media another lie, that we have a future. We're shown space dramas and sci-fis that are set 100 years from now, where it shows a happy blonde guy doing the whole cuck-face Swede thing where he's all happy and being part of his multicultural crew. And, it doesn't show, the night of the machetes coming out where all of the white people are being butchered, and that's the more likely future. So what I want you to take away when I talk and when I get up here, and what I did with my election in 2018 where I charged into Dianne Feinstein, I don't want you to think that I'm telling you how to do your resistance, how to stand up. What I'm trying to get you to do is have a feeling that you can stand up, that it's not hopeless. It was after Charlottesville, when so many people felt that everything was hopeless and that no matter what you did, it was all a trap and everyone's a shill, etc., that I ran against Feinstein. And I made a campaign that was completely just about Jew naming. It was just there to boost everyone's morale. And I got emails, many emails and messages saying that people who had lost hope, that were close to going full Bowers or something like that, even before Bowers, these people were on the verge of losing their minds because they saw no way out or no way to fight back in a way that could be productive, where we could win. And what I want you to take away from what I do isn't an instruction set for exactly how you should do everything in terms of fighting against Jewish supremacism. What I want you to take away is a feeling of hope that we can fight them. So if you're someone that thinks, okay, I'm just waiting for the right time to hop in, I'm waiting for that, my dox is like a virgin's cherry, I want to wait for just the right moment to risk losing my cherry, my dox cherry. I think you've been watching too much television. I was watching a review of Red Ice, where Lana and Heinrich were going over some Jewish movie about Einstein. And I realized that everything that 90% of people know is just lie. It's a Jewish web of illusions. Einstein, everyone thinks he's the greatest guy, these people that watch television. He's really just some thieving Jew that stole a bunch of people's ideas and started figuring out a way to get Frankfurt School into physics. He found a way to work in cultural relativism into ideas. He worked in relativism into ideas to the point where, objectivity in itself was something that you could criticize using physics? No. And I realized that everything that most people know is from the television. People don't know about the Titanic because they read a book. They saw a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. People don't know about World War II because they read books about the history of the time. They know about it because they watched a bunch of Jewish propaganda films. And people feel hopeless, and they go watch their Netflix, and they watch all of these Jewish narratives, and at the same time they come and listen to someone like me speak who's completely unplugged. And I just name the truth for what it is. Yes, the Jews are evil. Yes, the Jews are behind these genocides. I state the obvious. And they say, but that's so different from what the people hear on the television that no one's going to ever buy it. And the whole point is you have to disregard the programming on the television. Forget what's on the television. If your standards of what's possible or what isn't possible is based off from Jewish television programming, and yes, the key word is programming and the memes that come out of that, just take a break from television. I haven't watched television shows in years. And I recommend that you do the same. Once you unplug and then you allow yourself to watch something like the Black Panther or this Einstein episode that they're talking about on Red Ice, it's clown world. It's like when I turn on the television nowadays, I feel like a Navy sailor from the World War II United States turning on the radio off the coast of Iwo Jima and hearing Tokyo Jane. That's literally, when you turn on the television, when you watch Netflix, when you watch a movie, you're watching Jewish propaganda, where they're making propaganda against the enemy, and the enemy is you, white man, white woman, white child. You are the enemy against which this Jewish propaganda is made. You wouldn't turn on Tokyo Rose in 1944 when you're on board the USS Missouri. You wouldn't tune into a Japanese anti-American radio show. Why do you turn on Jewish television shows? Why do you go to the movies? Why do you watch these things which are just pure mechanisms for propaganda and anti-white hatred? These Jewish subversion mechanisms, television, movies. And what I'm saying is, part of breaking away from this Jewish propaganda, which makes up like a virtual parent for the kids growing up now. I mean, what they see in their live feed on Facebook, what they see in their notifications for YouTube, which videos to watch, it's not much different now than what they're seeing on the news and the television and the movies. If you don't step off the internet and break the conditioning, nothing's going to break it. If I had just had a bunch of people that I hadn't met in real life telling me the Jews did this, the Jews did that, I would have just dismissed them. It took real people approaching me for me to look into the Jewish question. And in terms of standing up to white genocide and standing up to Jewish supremacism, it's going to take real people. The ultimate meme that the Jews have right now is that these things have to stay on the internet. Jews are the masters of manipulation and smoke and mirrors, and when you keep everything on the internet, you keep everything where the Jews are in their realm. They control, through the Talpiot program, the launch of pretty much any technology startup. They've got their hooks into all the social media platforms. If you make your activism online, if you become dependent on Gab or Twitter or whatever to try to wake people up, you're going to become demoralized and lose major progress every time that platform gets shut down. And I tell you what, they're virtual platforms. The street is a real platform. And there's a reason why the Jews want the streets kept free of people that name them. Because they want us deplatformed from the one place we can't be deplatformed without a fight. And that's the street. There's a reason why the Jews go after civil rights advocates like the Ram guys, or people that protect civil rights advocates like the Ram guys. There's a reason why the Jews had to shut down and break so many laws to illegally imprison all of the people from Charlottesville. It's because it's hard to use smoke and mirrors against real life stuff. At Charlottesville, they had to use military grade 2.4, 5.0, and other communication bandwidth blocking hardware. The radios even didn't work. The VHF radios we had, the radio set in our transport vehicle where I was holding an AR-15, did not work. The Jews spent millions of dollars brainwashing the police prior to us getting there. The Jews spent mega resources making sure that radio jamming equipment was deployed to the point where not even drones could be flown from miles around the city center of Charlottesville. The Jews worked for months to shut down Charlottesville in advance because they were terrified of something they can't shut down with digital schemes and games. They were terrified of a few people getting together, a few thousand coming together and naming the Jew, which happened. We had normies streaming out of the dorm buildings saying, "Hey, can I join in the torch march?" I was doing security for the march in the back, watching the rear of the column as we watched on, and there were some people that dropped out and we had to wait for them to safely get somewhere else. In any case, we had normies streaming out towards the rear of the column asking if they could join. They didn't have indoctrination. They didn't have any type of facts they had to be fed. They saw white men that weren't ashamed to be white talking about taboo things, chanting taboo things, and they wanted to join in. It was real. It was visceral. It's like the Asch conformity experiment. They saw other white men doing it, and they naturally wanted to do it because all groups practice identity politics, whether they want to admit it or not. And they wanted to join in. This is what the Jews fear most. They want us to stay online. When you say, "Don't do it, don't march," in these comments, those are Jews or people that have been gaslit by the Jews. Those aren't real people that are concerned about the sanctity of some meme. So this kind of ties in with some other things here. Is the Jews want you to think that if you are comfy now, you'll be comfortable in the future. The temperature's getting turned up on you. Trump, he's going to last another 2 years, maybe another 6. He'll never once explicitly address white people as a group. He'll never once talk about Jewish supremacism. He'll never address Jewish terrorism. He'll never address the fact that the Jews are intentionally committing a genocide against every corner of the earth where there are white people. He'll never talk about the fact that what's happening in South Africa is a Jewish-run genocide. He'll never talk about the fact that the fake news is Jewish. We have to get ahead of the curve here before Trump's 2 or 6 remaining years are up and be saying, no Jew party system, you can't forbid white identity politics. No Jew party system, you can't make Israel getting defunded something that's off the table. No Jew party system, we're not going to let this television actor like the last one, Reagan, lure us into a false sense of comfort. We have to stand up for our rights now, and if you don't assert the right to be white or purple or whatever you may be, whatever color of the rainbow the Jews have a problem with, you won't be able to do it in the future because the windows are closing right now as the Jews are luring us into a false sense of comfort with this reality TV president who will not do those things which were within his power when he still had the House and the Senate. We're never going to see these things. The window is closing, and when Trump's out and the next Hillary Clinton style person or Janet Reno, Jewish supremacist supporting Attorney General comes in that's openly anti-white, that openly wants to lock us up for naming the Jew and telling the truth about 9/11, well, it'll be too late. We have to make hay now while the sun is shining. For Trump to come out and really clamp down with political arrests, as Trump has been doing against the Ram guys, as Trump has been doing against the people that defended themselves at Charlottesville. When Trump released the Antifa from prison that had set the city on fire during his inauguration, that was already a big enough red flag. Don't make Trump put out any more red flags for you to wake up and realize that Trump is not your salvation. No politician is your salvation, and you as a white person want to remain comfortable. You want this QAnon stuff to be true. You want to feel like someone's going to come and save you, and the only person that's going to save you is yourself. And there's no getting around this. Your false sense of comfort. You're watching Netflix at night, you thinking that someone else is going to stand up for your rights. No, you're wrong. And you're delusional if you think you can stay on the internet and remain effective. You have to come off the internet. 2 years ago, in a poll, 55% of white Americans said that they felt that the system systematically discriminates against them because they're white. I can guarantee you that's a lot more than 55% now. And you have to be a real person demonstrating your rights in real life in order to give the other whites who know that the Jews are discriminating against them without being able to give a name to them, without knowing that it's Jews doing it. They call it the left, they call it the media, whatever. They call it the cultural institutions. You have to give them permission to not be okay with the discrimination going on against them. If you study the Asch conformity experiments and other conformity experiments that have happened, the Jews have already studied this stuff. They know that people get permission from other people to do things. You look for social cues. If you're the only one in a room saying 2 + 2 = 4, after a few minutes of doing it, you might stop saying it if everyone else is saying 2 + 2 = 5. People cave to social pressure, and people look for approval from others. And when someone steps up and stands in front of that Jewish tank that's plowing through your community with Section 8 housing and whatnot, and you leave them alone to stand there, not only does he get crushed, but he gets crushed questioning his own sanity because no one stood shoulder to shoulder with him. White civil rights is not an oxymoron. White civil rights is something that is morally right, and it's okay for every group to advocate for civil rights. And to think that you're somehow going to be labeled a Nazi or something horrible, some Hollywood movie caricature from a Jewish Marvel comic movie or some shit like that, just for standing up and saying that you have rights as a human being that was born as an ethnic European. If you fear that as a consequence, then what's the point of remaining comfortable? Because what does the future hold for you if you don't stand up? If it's already not acceptable for whites to stand up for themselves, and if it's already been a trend that guns are being confiscated, whites are becoming minorities in their states, and the places where whites have become minorities, they become afraid to go out of their house at night, what future lays for you in a world where whites getting to 10 or 20% of the population like they have in South Africa leads to them being butchered in the streets where the police won't even answer their phone calls when they call out for help. When the Jews are issuing radio jamming equipment to the Bantu and Zulu that they give the weapons to kill the white farmers. What future do you think that you're keeping yourself safe for when you won't lift your head out of the foxhole? Think of this as a line, and everyone in this line is fighting positions, and one person or two at a time can't take the fact that the enemy line is advancing, and they stand up, and piecemeal, one by one, they get gunned down as they stand up from their fighting positions, exposing their heads. If everyone stands up at once, or if enough of us stand up at once to inspire the other people in their fighting positions, in their foxholes to stand up and offer resistance at once, at that point the Jewish assault on civilization stops. This is just like Russia and Syria and Hezbollah and Hamas now working together to contain the Jewish genocidal plague that has been spreading from Palestine to the neighboring countries. We have to stand united, and that means stop being an incel on the internet who believes these Jewish propagandists hiding behind anonymous masks telling you that everything will be fine as long as you don't risk doxing yourself, as long as you don't take risks like that maniac Pat Little did. As long as you keep yourself comfortable now, watch this Netflix show. Look, it's 2020, or it's 2220, and in the show, they're on a spaceship, and look, there's a white guy there. He's in the corner, and he doesn't have like a good role or anything, but look, he's safe and happy. No, this future doesn't exist for you. When the Jews get you down to a low enough percentage of your demographic population, they will kill you. This is what Jews do. Jews are genocidal, and if you don't believe me, just listen to the Jews themselves. Just listen to what they themselves advocate, these people that have control over our banks, our cultural institutions, our media, our educational institutions, every aspect of our culture-making society. These Jews are openly calling for a destruction to whiteness. These people that say that Palestinian is a social construct and white is a social construct, well, what are they doing to those social constructs in Palestine? They're killing them. They're lining them up against a wall. They're running over their houses with bulldozers and the whole time demonizing them in the media. Well, it's not just the Palestinians that get called Fakistinians or some type of social construct. It's also white people. And if they de-peopled Palestinians before they proceeded to commit genocide against them and take all of their land and deprive them of their rights, what do you think they have in store for us? Listening to your TRS podcast, going to your IE or your TRS drinking parties, where you keep this knowledge that you have behind closed doors, where you have contests about who can tell the edge of your joke, but you all talk about how you couldn't dare risk losing your jobs or whatever. No. If you risk nothing, you're siding with the enemy. And if you tune into podcasts that tell you, oh yes, as long as you support the Republicans, you're doing everything that you want, well, you're listening to controlled opposition. Whether they are willfully or unwillingly controlled, you're listening to controlled opposition. If someone says your salvation lays in supporting one of the two political parties, you're a moron if you believe that. Or you're comfort seeking. In either case, you work for the enemy and you're of no use to your children, because you're making them slaves by comfort seeking in a Jew party system where they want us to stay asleep. And Trump is the ultimate sleeping pill. Don't take the Trump pill. Take the red pill. He's never going to address us as a group. He's never going to name the Jew. Don't take the Trump pill. Spit it out. Have a good one.